I learned to be a ghost long before I worked for Vincent Castellano. It's a skill you develop when survival depends on it. How to move through a room without disturbing the air. How to make yourself so small that eyes slide right past you. How to exist in the negative space between other people's lives. My mother taught me this, though not with words. She taught me the night my father came home with his hands already curled into fists, when she pushed me into the closet and whispered, "Don't make a sound, no matter what you hear." I was good at it. Being invisible. Being quiet. Being the kind of person who could witness things and then fold them away into some locked drawer in my mind where they couldn't hurt anyone, especially not me. That's why the job worked. That's why, for 8 months, I could walk through Vincent Castellano's penthouse on Fifth Avenue and pretend I didn't see what I saw. The blood in the bathroom sink. The way certain men arrived through the service entrance at midnight and left before dawn. The packages that appeared on his kitchen counter, wrapped in brown paper, sealed with tape that looked too careful to contain anything legal. I cooked his eggs the way he liked them, scrambled, with cream, never milk. I folded his shirts with the precision of someone who understood that details mattered in his world, that a wrinkle could be read as disrespect, that disorder was a kind of vulnerability he couldn't afford. I asked no questions. I made no eye contact unless he spoke to me first. I collected my paycheck every 2 weeks, always cash, always in a plain envelope. And I paid my mother's medical bills, and I told myself this was just temporary, just until she got better, just until I could figure out something else. You will feel so many emotions in this mysterious love story I'm about to tell. Please support us by clicking subscribe to the channel. The money was too good. That was the problem. $1,500 a week for 20 hours of work, no taxes, no paperwork, no explanations required. He'd hired me through a referral from his housekeeper's cousin. And the interview had lasted maybe 3 minutes. He'd looked at me once, really looked, like he was reading something written on my skin. And then he'd said, "You start Monday. Don't be late." I was never late. Until that Tuesday. The subway broke down at Union Square. Not a minor delay, a total shutdown. Something about police activity on the platform. Everyone herded up the stairs and into the street while announcements crackled about alternate routes. I tried to get a cab. I tried to run. But Midtown at 8 in the morning is a solid wall of bodies and traffic. And by the time I made it to his building, I was 40 minutes late and my heart was hammering so hard I could taste metal. The doorman let me through without comment, but his expression said everything. The service elevator felt too slow, and I used the ride to smooth my hair, to catch my breath, to prepare the apology that needed to sound genuine but not desperate, professional but not cold. The penthouse was dark when I stepped inside. That should have been my first warning. Vincent Castellano was a man of routines, of rigid patterns that structured his days like lines of code. At 8:15 every morning, he sat in the breakfast nook overlooking Central Park, drinking black coffee and reading 3 newspapers. Physical newspapers, the kind that smelled like ink and left residue on your fingers. He wore a suit even at home. He never raised his voice. He moved through the world with the kind of precision that made you understand he'd calculated every angle, anticipated every risk, prepared for every contingency. But that morning, the kitchen was dark. The curtains were still drawn, and he was standing by the window in yesterday's suit, shoulders rigid, staring out at a city he seemed to be trying to will into submission. "Mr. Castellano?" My voice came out smaller than I intended. "I'm so sorry I'm late. The subway..." He turned. That's when I knew something was wrong. His eyes were wrong. Glassy and unfocused, like someone had replaced him with a wax figure that only resembled Vincent Castellano. Like he was looking at me from underwater, from some deep place where sound didn't travel and recognition didn't land. "Where's my breakfast?" Not a question. A statement, flat and cold, delivered in a voice I'd never heard him use. The kind of voice that didn't expect an answer because it had already reached a conclusion. "I'll make it right now." I was already moving toward the refrigerator, reaching for the eggs, trying to slip back into the familiar rhythm of the routine. "I just need 5 minutes." The milk carton hit the wall 2 inches from my head. Time fractures in moments like that. Splinters into 1,000 sharp pieces that cut on the way down. I felt the impact before I heard it. The explosion of cardboard and liquid. The spray across my face and hair and uniform. White everywhere. Dripping. The smell of it. Sour and immediate. my ears ringing with the violence of something so ordinary turned into a weapon. He stared at me, through me. His expression hadn't changed. Empty, distant, like I was a problem he'd solved, a variable he'd eliminated, a minor irritation he'd removed from his morning. Then he walked out, just walked past me, his shoes crunching on broken glass I didn't remember hearing shatter, leaving wet footprints on the marble. The front door opened and closed with the soft click of expensive engineering, and then there was only silence. The kind that fills your lungs and makes you forget how to breathe. I stood there for 20 minutes before I could move. When I finally looked down, I saw it. A small red stain on my white sleeve, just above the elbow. Not milk. Blood. Mine, I realized, from where a shard of glass had grazed me. I hadn't even felt it happen. I should have left. Should have walked out of that penthouse and never looked back. Should have found another job, another way. Should have chosen survival over the money. But my mother had chemo in 2 weeks. Her insurance had been denied. Again. And the hospital didn't accept apologies or explanations, only payments. So I cleaned it up. Every drop. I scrubbed the wall until the paint was spotless. I picked glass out of grout with my fingernails. I mopped the floor twice. I opened all the windows to air out the smell. Then I went home and sat in my shower fully clothed until the water ran cold. That night, at 9:30, someone knocked on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole and saw Vincent's driver, Marcus, a man who'd never spoken more than 3 words to me in 8 months. He was holding a manila envelope. Miss Torres. He didn't meet my eyes. Mr. Castellano asked me to deliver this. I took the envelope. It was heavier than I expected. When I opened it alone in my kitchen under the fluorescent light that flickered like a dying heartbeat, I found $5,000 in cash. 50s and hundreds. Crisp and clean. Still smelling like bank vaults and other people's futures. And underneath the money, folded once, a handwritten note on cream stationery that probably cost more than my rent. The handwriting was careful, precise. Each letter formed with the kind of control that suggested practice, discipline, a man who didn't allow himself mistakes. I need to see you. Tomorrow. 3 p.m. Please. And then, at the bottom, just his initial. V. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. The money sat on my kitchen table like evidence of something I couldn't name. Guilt or power or transaction. Maybe all 3 folded together into those neat bills that someone had counted with careful hands. I kept getting up to look at it, to make sure it was real, to count it again, as if the number might change, as if I'd imagined an extra zero. $5,000. That was 3 months of rent. That was my mother's next 4 treatments. That was the difference between keeping our heads above water and drowning in the kind of debt that follows you like a shadow, patient and permanent. But it was also a question I didn't know how to answer. What was he paying for? The terror? The silence? My continued invisibility in his world? Or was it something worse? An admission that what happened in that kitchen had crossed a line even he recognized. That violence leaves a residue no amount of money can fully clean. By morning, I'd convinced myself it was severance. A generous goodbye wrapped in cash and careful handwriting. He was buying my silence and my departure in one efficient transaction. The way powerful men do when they need problems to disappear without complications or lawsuits or questions that lead to answers nobody wants exposed. I should have been relieved. Should have taken the money and found another job. Something safe and boring and far away from penthouse apartments where milk cartons become weapons and blood appears in bathroom sinks without explanation. But at 247E, I was standing outside his building anyway. The doorman recognized me, nodded, said nothing. The elevator rose with mechanical patience while my heart did its best to break free of my ribcage. I told myself I just needed to hear him say it was over. Needed the formal ending, the closure, the moment where we both acknowledged what we'd been pretending not to see for 8 months. The doors opened. I stepped into the foyer. The penthouse smelled like lemon oil and expensive coffee, familiar and foreign at the same time. He opened the door himself before I could knock. That stopped me. Vincent Castellano didn't open his own doors. He had people for that. Marcus, the housekeeper, the rotating cast of men in dark suits who appeared and disappeared like smoke. But there he was, standing in the doorway in wrinkled clothes, his hair uncombed, his eyes bloodshot and raw in a way that made him look almost human. Elena. My name in his mouth sounded like relief and desperation braided together. Thank God. Please, come in. I should have run. Every instinct I'd honed over 26 years of survival was screaming at me to turn around, to get back in that elevator, to choose safety over whatever this was. But something in his face held me there. Something broken and visible that I'd never seen before. Shame. Raw and unfiltered, written across his features like a confession he didn't know how to speak. I walked in. The penthouse looked exactly the same. The furniture in its precise arrangement, the art on the walls worth more than most people earn in a lifetime, the floor-to-ceiling windows framing Central Park like a painting commissioned specifically for his view. Everything perfect and controlled and expensive. Except the kitchen wall. That had been repainted. I could smell it still. The chemical tang of fresh paint trying to cover what couldn't quite be erased. He kept his distance, standing at least 6 feet away like I was made of glass or dynamite, something that required careful handling. His hands were shaking. I'd never seen his hands shake. I need to explain what happened. His voice was quieter than I'd ever heard it, stripped of the authority that usually armored every syllable. The other morning, what I did, I waited. The silence stretched between us like a wire pulled too tight. The night before, he stopped. Started again. I took a sleeping pill. Ambien. A strong one. I've had problems sleeping for years, and my doctor prescribed it. But there are side effects, complications. He looked at his hands like they belonged to someone else. I sleepwalk. Sometimes. And when I do, I'm aggressive, violent. I don't remember it afterward. Don't have any control over it. The words landed like stones in still water, each one creating ripples that spread and overlapped. I didn't know you were there. He finally looked at me, and the rawness in his eyes made something in my chest constrict. I didn't see you, Elena. I wasn't conscious. I was in some kind of fugue state, and the doctors warned me. They warned me this could happen, that I should never take it if someone else was in the apartment, that I needed to be alone because I'd become someone else, someone dangerous. I thought about my father, the smell of whiskey and rage, the way his face would change when whatever demon lived inside him woke up and took control. The excuses, the apologies, the promises that tomorrow would be different. That's convenient, I said. The words came out harder than I intended, blaming it on a pill. I know. He closed his eyes. I know how it sounds. I know you have no reason to believe me. But I swear to you, Elena, I would never hurt you consciously. Never. The blood you cleaned from my bathroom? He gestured vaguely toward the master suite. It's mine. From hitting the walls when I'm in that state. I wake up with bruised knuckles and no memory of how they got that way. I looked at his hands, saw the fading yellow of old bruises across his knuckles, saw the small scars that suggested this wasn't the first time, or the second, or the 10th. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I owe you the truth. He took a breath that seemed to cost him something. And because... He stopped. You're the only person who's ever stayed. Everyone else who works for me, they stay because they're afraid or because they're loyal to something larger than me. But you stayed because you needed to. Because you're taking care of someone. Your mother, I think. Based on the medical bills I saw in your background check. Heat flooded my face. You ran a background check on me. I run them on everyone. He had the grace to look uncomfortable. It's not personal. It's protection. But what I'm trying to say, badly apparently, is that you stayed even when you were afraid. You came back every day for 8 months and you never asked questions and you never judged what you saw. And that kind of discretion is rare. That kind of strength is rare. I'm not strong, I said. I'm broke. There's a difference. No. His certainty was absolute. There isn't. I've known plenty of people who would have taken the money and disappeared, who would have gone to the police or the tabloids or used what they'd seen as leverage. But you didn't. You just kept showing up and doing your job and asking nothing in return except your paycheck. What do you want from me, Mr. Castellano? Vincent? He said it quietly. And I want you to come back. Not because I need someone to cook my eggs. I can order breakfast. I can hire another housekeeper. I want you to come back because he struggled for words. Because I trust you. And trust is not something I give easily. I should have said no. Should have taken the $5,000 and walked away from whatever this was. This strange intimacy, this unexpected vulnerability from a man who probably had blood on his hands in ways that had nothing to do with sleepwalking. But my mother's face floated in my mind. Her tired smile, the way her hand felt like paper in mine, the way the cancer was eating her from the inside out, and how every treatment bought us a little more time, and time was the only currency that mattered anymore. "I'll think about it," I said. Something in his expression cracked open. Relief, maybe, or hope, or something more complicated that I didn't have a name for. "Thank you." He walked to the kitchen counter and picked up another envelope. "This is for next month, whether you come back or not. Your mother's treatment, it's covered. I've made arrangements with the hospital. Whatever she needs, for as long as she needs it. No strings attached." I stared at the envelope in his outstretched hand. "I can't accept that." "Yes, you can. It's already done. The payments are set up through a trust. Untraceable to me, completely legal. Your mother will never know where it came from. Neither will you, officially. But unofficially, he set the envelope on the side table between us. It's a debt I owe you. For what I did. For what I put you through. You can't buy forgiveness. I'm not trying to." His voice was barely above a whisper. "I'm trying to make sure you have a choice. Come back because you want to, not because you're desperate. Come back because you believe me, not because you need the money." I picked up the envelope, felt the weight of it, felt the weight of everything it represented. The power he had to change my life with a phone call, the casual way he could solve problems that would crush me, the fundamental inequality between us that no amount of honesty could erase. "I'll think about it," I said again. I turned to leave. Got as far as the door. "Elena," his voice stopped me. "That blood you cleaned from my bathroom, it's mine, from hitting the walls in my sleep. You're the only person who's ever stayed." I looked back at him. Saw him standing there in his wrinkled clothes, looking lost in his own immaculate penthouse. And for the first time, I understood that power and loneliness weren't opposites. Sometimes they were the same thing wearing different faces. I walked out without answering. Rode the elevator down in silence. Stepped into the afternoon sun of Fifth Avenue and felt the envelope burning in my bag like a live coal. That night, I opened it alone in my apartment. Inside was a check for $15,000 and a handwritten note on the same cream stationery. "For your mother, for your peace of mind, for the choice I took away when I threw that carton. I'm installing cameras in my bedroom. If it happens again, there will be proof. Please come back. Not for me, for yourself. Because you deserve to work somewhere you're not afraid. V." And underneath that, in smaller letters, like an afterthought or a confession, I changed my medication. I see a new doctor now. I'm trying to be better. I sat there for a long time, holding that note, reading those words over and over until they blurred together. The next Monday, I showed up at 8:15 sharp with my key and my uniform and a dozen questions I didn't know how to ask. He was sitting in the breakfast nook, drinking black coffee, reading his newspapers. When he saw me, something in his face relaxed, just for a second, just enough for me to notice. "Good morning, Elena." "Good morning, Mr. Castellano." "Vincent," he corrected gently. I nodded, went to the kitchen, started making his eggs the way he liked them, and somehow, impossibly, we began again. 3 weeks passed like a held breath slowly released. Vincent kept his distance the way a wild animal might circle something it doesn't quite trust. Careful, deliberate, always maintaining space for escape. He started eating breakfast at his office downtown, which meant I arrived to an empty penthouse and spent my mornings alone with the silence and the expensive furniture and the ghosts of conversations we weren't having. He left notes. Small squares of cream paper weighted down by coffee cups, or positioned carefully on the kitchen counter where I couldn't miss them. Took medication at 11 p.m. Cameras active. You're safe. Or sometimes just, thank you for coming back. I never wrote back. Didn't know what to say. Didn't know what language existed for this strange new territory we were navigating. Not quite employer and employee anymore, but not anything else either. Something undefined and uncomfortable. Like a word that exists in another language but has no direct translation. My mother's treatments continued without interruption. The hospital never asked questions about payment. She looked better, stronger, more like the woman who'd raised me on double shifts and determination before the cancer came and rewrote everything. When she asked where the money came from, I told her I'd gotten a raise. She smiled and squeezed my hand and didn't push. And I was grateful for the lie between us because the truth was too complicated to explain. I was working for a man who terrified and fascinated me in equal measure. A man who threw milk cartons in chemically induced fugue states and paid for my mother's survival without being asked. A man whose bathroom I cleaned while pretending not to notice the prescription bottles multiplying on his counter. Different names now, different dosages. A pharmaceutical trail of someone trying desperately not to hurt people in his sleep. The penthouse became familiar again, but different. I moved through it with new awareness, noticing things I'd trained myself to ignore before. The books on his nightstand, philosophy and poetry and military history stacked in careful towers. The photographs he didn't display, tucked in a drawer I found while looking for cleaning supplies. A woman with kind eyes. A boy who might have been Vincent decades ago. Both of them smiling in a way that suggested the photo had been taken before something broke. I didn't ask about them. Didn't ask about anything. We'd built this fragile piece on the foundation of things left unsaid, and I wasn't ready to crack it open yet. Then came the dinner party. He'd warned me about it 3 days in advance, apologetic and formal. A business dinner, 12 guests. Nothing I needed to worry about except making sure the caterers had access and staying late to clean up afterward. He'd offered to have the service do it, but I said no. I needed the hours, needed the money, still, even with my mother's bills covered. Needed something to do with my hands while my mind spun in circles trying to understand what my life had become. The guests arrived at 8. I watched from the kitchen as they filtered in. Men in expensive suits, women in dresses that cost more than my monthly rent, everyone speaking in the coded language of power and influence. Vincent moved among them like he was conducting an orchestra, his charm effortless and calculated, nothing like the raw vulnerability he'd shown me in this same space weeks before. I realized, watching him, that he wore different faces for different audiences. That the man who left me apologetic notes and the man who commanded a room full of people who probably feared him were the same person, just different translations of the same complicated text. By midnight, they were gone. The caterers had cleaned the main areas, but the kitchen was a disaster. Wine glasses multiplying like evidence, plates stacked in precarious towers, the air thick with the smell of expensive food and expensive cologne. I rolled up my sleeves and started washing, falling into the meditative rhythm of hot water and soap and things made clean again. I was drying the last wine glass when I heard footsteps behind me. You should have left. Vincent's voice was soft, almost gentle. It's late. This neighborhood. Is your neighborhood? I said without turning around. We'd had this conversation before. It was becoming a kind of call and response between us, a script we knew by heart. Exactly. I turned. He'd loosened his tie, rolled up his sleeves. He looked tired in a way that had nothing to do with the hour, a bone-deep exhaustion that suggested he'd been performing all night and was finally allowed to stop. Let me drive you home. I can take the subway. Elena. He said my name the way he always did now, like a prayer or a plea, something weighted with meaning I couldn't quite decode. Please, it's midnight. Just let me do this one small thing. Something in his tone made me pause, made me see past the request to the need underneath it. Not about my safety, really, but about his. About giving him permission to take care of something, someone, in a way that felt normal and human and uncomplicated by all the other ways he wielded power in the world. Okay, I said. The relief on his face was disproportionate to the concession. He grabbed his keys, and we rode the elevator down in comfortable silence, the kind that happens when two people have stopped performing for each other and can just exist in the same space without it meaning anything or everything. His car was parked in the underground garage, a black Mercedes that probably cost more than I'd earn in 5 years. He opened the passenger door for me, which felt strange and formal, then got in and adjusted the mirrors with the precision of someone who'd been trained to notice angles, sight lines, exits. We pulled out onto Fifth Avenue, and the city unfolded around us in neon and shadow. This late, Manhattan felt different, emptier, more honest somehow, stripped of the daytime crowds and tourist cameras and everyone pretending to be someone they weren't. "How's your mother?" he asked after several blocks of silence. "Better. The new treatment protocol is working." "Good. That's good." He kept his eyes on the road, but I saw his hands relax slightly on the wheel. "I'm glad. Thank you." The words felt inadequate. "For everything you've done. I know I haven't said it properly, but you don't have to thank me, Elena. What I did to you, the money doesn't fix it. Nothing fixes it. I just wanted to make sure you had options. Still, thank you. We stopped at a red light. The intersection was empty except for a homeless man pushing a shopping cart, and for a moment, we just sat there watching him navigate the crosswalk with more dignity than most of the dinner guests had shown all night. I changed medications, Vincent said quietly, like I told you I would. And I see a new doctor now, one who specializes in sleep disorders. He's got me on a completely different protocol. No Ambien, no benzodiazepines, nothing that causes parasomnia. How's it working? The cameras haven't caught anything in 3 weeks. I wake up in the same position I fell asleep in. No bruised knuckles, no missing time. He glanced at me briefly before the light changed. I'm trying, Elena. I need you to know that. I'm trying to be someone who doesn't hurt people accidentally. Trying to be someone worthy of your trust. The vulnerability in his voice made my chest tight. I know you are. We drove in silence through Lower Manhattan, through neighborhoods that gentrified and decayed and gentrified again in endless cycles of money and displacement. I watched the city scroll past the window and thought about trust, about how it's built in small increments, not grand gestures, but tiny permissions granted and honored, little risks taken and survived. Can I ask you something? I said as we crossed into Brooklyn. Anything. The blood in your bathroom. Before you told me it was yours, what did you think I thought it was? He was quiet for a long moment. I thought you probably assumed I was a violent man, which isn't entirely wrong. I've done things, Elena, things I can't take back or explain away or blame on medication. I've hurt people consciously and deliberately when it served a purpose. When it protected something I cared about or removed an obstacle that couldn't be removed any other way. Why are you telling me this? Because if we're going to keep doing this, whatever this is, you deserve to know who you're working for, who you're trusting. I'm not a good man pretending to be bad. I'm a bad man trying very hard to be better. There's a difference. I'm not sure there is, I said softly. Trying to be better. That's what good people do. Good people don't have to try. It comes naturally to them. That's not true. My mother, she tried every day to be better than my father, to not let his violence poison her, to raise me in a home that felt safe even when it wasn't. Trying is the most human thing we do. He pulled up outside my building, a 6-story walk-up in Crown Heights that had seen better decades. The streetlight flickered like it was trying to decide whether staying lit was worth the effort. Vincent put the car in park but didn't kill the engine. We sat there, the Mercedes idling, some unspoken thing hovering between us like a question neither of us knew how to ask. Elena, he started. That's when I saw the man. He was leaning against the building entrance, backlit by the security light, and everything about his posture screamed wrong. Too casual, too purposeful. Waiting. Vincent saw him the same instant I did. His entire body went rigid, his hand moving instinctively toward something I couldn't see. A weapon, I realized with a jolt of adrenaline. He kept a gun in his car. Get down, he whispered. His voice had changed completely, no longer vulnerable or uncertain, but cold and sharp as surgical steel. Now, what, Elena? He looked at me then, and I saw something new in his eyes, something dangerous and protective braided so tightly together I couldn't separate them. Get down and stay down until I tell you otherwise. Do you understand? I slid down in the seat, my heart hammering. Through the window, I could see the man push off from the building and start walking toward the car. Slow, deliberate, like he had all the time in the world. Vincent's hand was on the gun now. I could see it. Black metal, compact, the kind of weapon that suggested he knew exactly how to use it. Who is he? I whispered. Carlo Rinaldi's nephew. Vincent's voice was flat, which means someone told him where you live, which means someone's been watching you, watching us. The man stopped 10 feet from the car, smiled, raised his hand in a mock wave. Vincent's jaw tightened. Stay here. Lock the doors. If anything happens, you drive away. You understand? You drive away and you don't look back. I don't know how to drive your car. You'll figure it out. He looked at me one more time, and I saw something in his face I'd never seen before. Fear, real and raw and directed entirely at me. Please, Elena, just this once, do what I tell you without arguing. Then he got out of the car. I watched through the windshield as he walked toward Rinaldi's nephew. his movements controlled and predatory. They stood facing each other on the empty street, two men having a conversation I couldn't hear, and I understood with sudden, crystalline clarity that my life had just changed irrevocably. I wasn't invisible anymore. Someone had seen me. Someone knew I mattered to Vincent Castellano. And that knowledge, I realized as I watched them talk under the flickering streetlight, was the most dangerous thing in the world. Vincent didn't come back to the car for 7 minutes. I know because I counted every second, my hand hovering over the gear shift like he'd told me, my heart performing acrobatics in my chest while I watched two men have a conversation that looked almost cordial from a distance. Casual gestures, relaxed postures, the kind of body language that suggested they were discussing the weather or last night's game. But I could see Vincent's left hand. It never moved from his side, never relaxed, staying positioned exactly where he could reach the gun I knew was there. And I could see the other man's smile, too wide, too performative, the kind of expression that wore menace like expensive cologne. When Vincent finally walked back to the car, his face was completely blank, unreadable. He got in, checked the mirrors with methodical precision, and pulled away from the curb without a word. We drove for 3 blocks in absolute silence before he spoke. That was Marco Rinaldi, Carlo's nephew, like I said. His voice was controlled, clinical. He wanted to deliver a message. What kind of message? The kind that says they know who you are, where you live, what you mean to... He stopped himself, recalibrated. What your connection is to me? My mouth went dry. I don't have a connection to you. I work for you. That's all. That's not how they see it. He took a turn too fast, the Mercedes handling it with precision that suggested he'd made this kind of escape before. To them, anyone in my life is a potential pressure point, a way to get leverage. And you? Another pause, heavier this time. You're around more than most people. You have access to my home, my routines. They think you matter. Do I? The question escaped before I could stop it. He looked at me then, just for a second, just long enough for me to see something complicated move across his face like weather. Yes, he said quietly. You do. The admission hung between us, taking up all the oxygen in the car. I didn't know what to do with it. How to hold something that felt too fragile and too heavy at the same time. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. Somewhere they don't know about. He made another turn, heading toward the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. You can't go home tonight, Elena. If Marco knows where you live, others do too. And they'll be watching. Waiting to see if I react, if I care enough to protect you, if you're actually a vulnerability they can exploit. This is insane. My voice came out higher than I intended. I'm a housekeeper. I cook your eggs and clean your bathroom. That doesn't make me important enough to be a target. You're important to me. He said it with such quiet certainty that it stopped my protest mid-breath. Which makes you important to them. That's how this works. Elena. That's the world I live in. People don't have inherent value, they have strategic value, and you just became strategic. We crossed into Brooklyn, the skyline of Manhattan retreating behind us like something we were leaving in a past that already felt impossible to return to. Vincent drove with the kind of focused intensity I'd seen him bring to everything, calculating, prepared, always 3 moves ahead of whatever game we were playing. I can't just disappear, I said. My mother, she'll worry. And my landlord, my other jobs, I'll handle it. He glanced at me briefly. I'll call your mother from a secure line. Tell her you're helping me with a work emergency, that you'll be out of town for a few days. She doesn't need details. And your landlord, I'll have someone pay your rent, pick up your mail, make it look like you're just away for a bit. You can't just rearrange my entire life. I can, and I am. There was no arrogance in his tone, just flat certainty. Because the alternative is leaving you exposed. And I won't do that. I can't do that. Something in the way he said it, the rawness underneath the control, made me understand this wasn't about power or possession. This was about guilt, about the milk carton he'd thrown and the vulnerability he'd created when he'd let me see him as something other than untouchable. This was about him trying to protect me from consequences he'd set in motion just by letting me matter. We pulled up to a hotel in Williamsburg. Not fancy, not the kind of place Vincent Castellano would normally occupy, which I realized was exactly the point. Invisible, forgettable. The kind of place people pass through without leaving memories. He parked in the underground garage and killed the engine. For a moment, we just sat there in the artificial fluorescence, two people who'd somehow crossed from employer and employee into something neither of us had names for yet. "I have a room here," he said finally, under a different name. "A safe house I maintain for situations like this." "How often do you have situations like this?" "More often than I'd like." He got out, came around to open my door. The gesture felt absurdly formal given the circumstances, but I was learning that Vincent clung to these small rituals of normalcy when everything else was chaos. The room was on the 4th floor, accessed through a back stairwell that suggested he'd mapped every exit before ever needing one. He unlocked the door with a key that looked old-fashioned, analog, the kind you couldn't hack or clone or trace. Inside, the room was basic but clean. 2 beds, a small kitchenette, blackout curtains already drawn. It looked like what it was, a place designed for hiding, not living. "There's food in the fridge," Vincent said, moving through the space with practiced efficiency. "Bottled water, basic supplies. The Wi-Fi is secure, but don't use it unless absolutely necessary. Don't order delivery, don't call anyone except me. Don't exist. I finished. Got it." He stopped, looked at me. "I'm sorry. I know this isn't what you signed up for. I signed up to clean your apartment." I dropped my bag on the nearest bed, suddenly exhausted, not to become collateral damage in whatever war you're fighting. "I know." He ran a hand through his hair. The first sign of disorder I'd seen in him all night. And if I could undo it, if I could go back and keep my distance, maintain the professional boundary, not let you become someone who matters, I would. But I can't. It's too late. When? The question came out sharper than I intended. When did it become too late? When did I stop being invisible? He was quiet for a long moment, and I watched something struggle behind his eyes, some calculation about how much truth he could afford to give me. "The first morning you came back," he said finally. "After what I did, after I gave you every reason to disappear and you showed up anyway at 8:15 with your key and your uniform and your questions you didn't know how to ask. That's when I knew. Knew what? That you were brave in a way that had nothing to do with violence or power. That you understood survival doesn't mean running from everything that scares you. That you'd seen the worst version of me and came back anyway." He looked at me with something like wonder. "Do you have any idea how rare that is? In my world, to be seen at your lowest and not abandoned?" I didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know how to tell him that coming back hadn't been about bravery. It had been about desperation and money and my mother's tired eyes, that he was assigning meaning to a decision that had been purely practical. Except maybe it hadn't been. Maybe some part of me had wanted to understand him, had seen the pain underneath the violence and recognized it as something familiar, something I'd spent my whole life learning to navigate. "I have 3 rules," Vincent said, his voice shifting back to something more controlled. "You don't leave this room without telling me first. You don't open the door for anyone, not the hotel staff, not delivery, no one. And you don't lie to me about being scared." The last rule caught me off guard. Why would I lie about that? Because people do. They think if they act brave enough, it becomes true. But fear is information, Elena. It tells us what matters, what's at stake. And right now, I need to know what you're really feeling. I sat down on the edge of the bed, felt the cheap mattress compress underneath me. "I'm terrified." "Is that what you want to hear? That I don't understand what's happening or why someone would care enough about me to make threats? That my entire life just got derailed because I clean your apartment and you feel guilty about throwing dairy products at my head?" "Yes," he said simply. "That's exactly what I want to hear. Because it's true. And truth is the only thing that keeps people alive in situations like this." "And what about your rules?" I looked up at him. "Do I get to make anything? Name it. You tell me the truth. All of it." The words came out with more force than I'd intended. Who you really are. What you really do. Why someone named Carlo Rinaldi wants to hurt people around you. No more vague references to my world or people like us. If I'm supposed to trust you with my life, you owe me transparency." He nodded slowly, like I just asked him to cut open his chest and show me his heart. "Okay, but not tonight. Tonight, you need to sleep. We both do. Tomorrow, I'll tell you everything." He moved toward the other bed, started to pull off his jacket. That's when I realized what was happening. "You're staying here?" Of course I'm staying here. He looked at me like the question was absurd. You think I'm going to leave you alone in a safe house while there are people actively looking for ways to hurt you? I'll sleep by the door. If anyone comes through it, they'll have to go through me first. The protectiveness in his voice should have scared me. Should have felt like possession or control or all the things I'd learned to recognize as danger signs from my father's legacy, but it didn't. It felt like something else, something I didn't have a word for yet. Vincent, I said quietly. Yes, thank you. For this. For caring whether I'm safe. Something in his expression softened. Elena, if anything happened to you because of me, because of my life, my choices, my failures to protect what matters, I don't think I'd survive it. Not intact. Not as someone I'd recognize. He said it so simply, like it was just a fact, not a confession that rearranged everything between us. I lay down on my bed fully clothed, too wired to change, too exhausted to stay upright. Vincent settled on the other bed, positioning himself between me and the door like he'd promised. And I watched his silhouette in the darkness and wondered how I'd gone from invisible to essential in the space of 8 months. Wondered if safety and danger were always this tangled up together, if protection and possession were just different words for the same complicated thing. I was almost asleep when his phone buzzed. Once, twice, I heard him get up, heard the quiet murmur of his voice, heard the edge that crept into his tone, something sharp and cold that reminded me he wasn't just the man who left me apologetic notes and paid for my mother's cancer treatments. When he hung up, the silence felt different, heavier. Vincent? I whispered. What's wrong? He was quiet for so long I thought he might not answer. Then, that was my contact at the NYPD. Carlo Rinaldi just filed a missing persons report. He turned to look at me through the darkness. For you. My blood went cold. What? He's claiming you're his niece, that you've been missing for 3 days, that he's worried about your safety and wants the police to help find you. Vincent's voice was completely flat. It's a message, Elena. He's telling me he can manipulate the system, that he can make you look like his victim instead of mine, that if anything happens to you now, the investigation will start with me. But I'm not his niece. That's insane. The police will figure it out. Will they? He stood up, started pacing. Or will they see a wealthy Italian man claiming his missing niece was last seen with a known associate of organized crime? Will they see a young woman who works for me, who suddenly disappeared from her apartment, whose mother is being treated at a hospital with mysteriously covered bills? The implications hit me like cold water. He's framing you. He's setting the stage, making sure that if something happens to you, if you disappear or turn up hurt or decide to testify against me, there's already a narrative in place. One where I'm the villain and he's the concerned family member. But I can just tell them the truth. Can you? Vincent stopped pacing, looked at me with something like pity. You think the truth matters more than the story, Elena? You think facts win against a well-constructed narrative backed by money and lawyers and connections? I sat up, my heart racing. So what do? We play a different game. He picked up his phone again, started typing with quick, precise movements. I make some calls. I establish an alternative timeline. I get ahead of his narrative before it becomes the official version. And me, what am I supposed to do? He looked at me then, and I saw something new in his eyes. Not just protection anymore, not just guilt, determination. You stay alive, he said, and you trust me to keep you that way. Because right now, Elena Torres, you're not just someone who matters to me. You're evidence. You're leverage. You're the one person who can prove what really happened between us. That you chose to be here, that you weren't kidnapped or coerced or manipulated. How do I prove that? By surviving long enough to tell your story. He came closer, sat on the edge of my bed, and by letting me teach you how to protect yourself in a world that's going to try very hard to make you a victim. The weight of it settled over me. The sudden understanding that my life had just become a chess piece in a game I didn't understand, played by people who treated humans like assets and casualties as acceptable losses. I want to see my mother, I said. My voice shook. Before this gets worse. Before he tries to use her too. Vincent's jaw tightened. I'll arrange it. Tomorrow. Secure location. Limited time. But Elena... He reached out like he might touch my hand, then stopped himself. You can't tell her everything. Can't let her see how scared you are. She needs to believe you're safe. Even if I'm not. Especially if you're not. He stood up, moved back toward his position by the door. But before he settled, he turned back one more time. "That message," he said quietly. "The one Marco delivered tonight? Do you want to know what it said?" I nodded, even though part of me wanted to stay in the mercy of not knowing. He said, "Tell Castellano his girlfriend is pretty. Would be a shame if she got caught in the crossfire." The words landed like stones. "I'm not your girlfriend." "I know." Vincent's voice was rough. "But now they think you are, which means they'll treat you like someone worth taking, worth hurting, worth using to break me." "And are you," I asked, "breakable that way?" He looked at me for a long moment, his face shadowed and unreadable. "Yes," he said finally. "God help me, yes." Then he lay down by the door, positioned between me and anyone who might try to come through it, and I understood with sudden, crystalline clarity that I'd just become the thing Vincent Castellano couldn't afford to lose, which meant I'd also become the thing Carlo Rinaldi would try hardest to take. Morning came through the blackout curtains like a rumor, gray light seeping around the edges, refusing to be completely blocked out. I woke disoriented, my body understanding before my mind did that I wasn't in my apartment, wasn't in any place that belonged to me. Vincent was already awake, standing by the window with a phone pressed to his ear, speaking in low Italian that sounded like water over stones, fluid and hard at the same time. When he saw me stir, he ended the call and turned. "Coffee?" He gestured to the kitchenette where a small pot was already brewing. "It's not good, but it's caffeine." I sat up, my muscles stiff from sleeping in my clothes. "What time is it?" 7:30. "I've been making arrangements." He poured 2 cups, brought one over. The ceramic was warm in my hands, ordinary in a way that felt surreal given everything else. "Your mother?" "I can get you to her, but it has to be this afternoon. Limited window. 2 of my people will take you. Marcus and a woman named Sophia. She's trained in personal security, speaks fluent Spanish if your mother's more comfortable in that." The detail, the thoughtfulness of it, made something in my chest tighten. "You thought about the language thing. Your file said your mother emigrated from Ecuador in the 80s. I assumed..." He stopped himself. "I wanted her to feel safe with the people protecting her daughter." I took a sip of the coffee. He was right. It wasn't good, but it was warm and bitter and real. And I needed something real to anchor myself. "When do we leave?" 2 hours. "I need to brief Sophia first, make sure the route is secure." He sat down on the opposite bed, and I saw the exhaustion written across his face, the kind that comes from not sleeping even when your body is horizontal. "But first, we need to talk. You asked for the truth? All of it. That was your rule." My stomach dropped. Part of me wanted to take it back, to stay in the comfortable ignorance of not knowing exactly what kind of man Vincent Castellano was when he wasn't leaving me apologetic notes or paying for my mother's cancer treatments. But I'd asked, and he'd agreed, and trust required honesty even when honesty was sharp enough to cut. "Okay," I said, "tell me." He looked down at his hands, those careful, controlled hands that had thrown a milk carton and signed checks and probably done things I didn't want to imagine. "My family came to New York in the 50s, he began, "from Sicily. My grandfather ran numbers in Little Italy, small-time stuff, but he was smart about it, built relationships, invested in legitimate businesses. By the time my father took over, we had construction contracts, waste management, a dozen restaurants, the kind of empire that looked clean on paper but had roots that went deep into everything the city wanted to pretend didn't exist." I listened, watching his face as he spoke. He wasn't performing anymore. Wasn't the man who commanded dinner parties or negotiated with people who filed false police reports. This was something rawer, more honest. I was supposed to go to Columbia, study business or law, get the credentials that would let me run the legitimate side while someone else handled the rest. But when I was 19, my father was killed. His voice didn't change, but something in his eyes did. Car bomb. Outside our home in Staten Island, I was supposed to be with him that morning, but I'd stayed home sick. Food poisoning from bad seafood at a restaurant we didn't own. Vincent. The people who did it thought they were starting a war, taking out the head of the organization, creating chaos, moving into our territory while we were weak. He looked at me then, but they didn't account for me. Didn't think a 19-year-old college kid could hold things together. They were wrong. The way he said it, so flat, so final, made me understand that whatever he'd done in response had been neither quick nor merciful. I made alliances, called in every favor my father had banked, identified the people who'd given the order and the ones who'd carried it out. He paused, and I handled it. Not personally. I've never killed anyone with my own hands, Elena. But I've ordered it. I've watched it happen. I've made decisions that ended lives because the alternative was losing everything my family built. I should have been horrified. Should have stood up and walked out and found a way to distance myself from this confession. But instead, I thought about my father. About the night he died choking on his own vomit in an alley behind a bar. And how part of me, the part I never acknowledged, had been relieved. How old were you? I asked, when it was over. 22. By then, I'd consolidated power, eliminated threats, established rules that everyone understood would be enforced. I'd become exactly what I needed to be to survive. He set down his coffee cup. But I'd also become someone I didn't recognize. Someone my mother couldn't look at without crying. Someone who'd sacrificed every soft part of himself to make sure no one ever took anything from us again. Is that when the nightmares started? The question surprised him. I saw it in the way his shoulders shifted, some armor dropping for just a second. How did you... The sleeping pills, the bruised knuckles, the blood. I met his eyes. You don't medicate yourself that heavily unless sleep is complicated, unless your subconscious is trying to process things your conscious mind won't let you touch. Psychology degree? There was something almost like humor in his voice. High school dropout who spent her teenage years watching her father self-destruct. I shrugged. You learn to read the signs. He was quiet for a moment, and I watched him decide how much more to give me. Yes, he said finally. The nightmares started around then. Dreams where I'm back in that car with my father, except this time I can see the bomb underneath, can see the timer counting down, and I'm trying to warn him but no sound comes out. Or dreams where I'm the one giving orders, watching people die, and I can't stop myself even though I want to. Even though I'm screaming inside to stop. So you took pills to make it quiet. I took pills to make it nothing. To erase the hours between conscious thought and waking up. But nothing isn't peaceful, Elena. Nothing is just a different kind of noise. I understood that. Had spent years of my own trying to find the right amount of nothing. Not enough to stop existing, but enough to stop feeling everything all at once. What about Carlo Rinaldi? I asked. Where does he fit into this? Vincent's expression hardened. Carlo used to work for my father. Enforcer mostly, the kind of man who enjoyed the violence part more than the business part. When I took over, I made changes. Established rules about who we hurt and why. No civilians unless absolutely necessary. No women, no children, ever. And he didn't like that. He thought I was weak, sentimental. He said the new rules made us vulnerable, made us look soft to the other families. Vincent stood up, started pacing, a caged energy that suggested the story wasn't finished. 2 years ago, he broke those rules, hurt someone he shouldn't have, a bartender who'd refused to pay protection money. Carlo put her in the hospital with a broken jaw and 3 fractured ribs as an example. The air in the room felt thinner suddenly. I had a choice, Vincent continued. Let it go, maintain the status quo, prove Carlo right about me being too soft to lead, or enforce the rules I'd set. Show everyone that my word meant something, even when it was inconvenient. What did you do? I exiled him, stripped him of his position, his territory, his income streams. Sent him to Philadelphia with nothing but a warning that if he ever came back to New York, he'd answer for what he'd done. And now he's back. Now he's back. Vincent stopped pacing, looked at me. Building alliances, spreading rumors that I've gone soft, that the organization is vulnerable, using your existence as proof that I care more about a woman than I do about maintaining power. Am I? The question came out smaller than I intended. Proof that you've gone soft. He crossed the room in 3 strides, sat down next to me on the bed, close enough that I could see the stubble on his jaw, the flecks of gold in his brown eyes, the exhaustion and honesty written across every feature. You're proof that I'm still human, he said quietly. That I haven't completely calcified into the role I created. That some part of me still believes in protecting things just because they matter, not because they're strategic. His hand moved like it might reach for mine, then stopped. Always stopping, always maintaining that last boundary between us. Tell me about your father, he said. You mentioned him last night, about leaving your mother alone with him. The shift caught me off guard, made me realize this wasn't just him confessing. This was him wanting to understand who I was underneath the uniform and the careful invisibility. My father was a carpenter, I began. The words felt rusty, like I hadn't used them in years. Good with his hands, could build anything. But he had demons. Addiction, anger, whatever pain he'd brought with him from Puerto Rico that he never talked about. My mother married him when she was 19, pregnant with me, desperate to make a family work. I took a breath, kept going. He was fine when he was sober, sweet even, would build me doll houses, teach me Spanish, carry me on his shoulders through Prospect Park. But when he drank, I stopped, started again. When he drank, he became someone else. Someone who saw threats everywhere, who needed to prove his dominance, who used his fists because words had stopped working. How old were you when you left? 16, after a night when he came home, and the memory rose up, sharp and intact. My mother had left dinner on the stove, rice and beans, his favorite. But she'd fallen asleep waiting for him, and the rice had burned, and when he came home, he lost it. Said she was disrespecting him, that she didn't care about him, that we both needed to learn our place. Vincent's jaw tightened, but he said nothing, just waited. He hit her. Not the first time, but the worst time. Broke her wrist when she tried to protect her face, and I just stood there, frozen, watching it happen, until something in me snapped. I touched my shoulder unconsciously, feeling the old scar through my shirt. I grabbed a kitchen knife, told him to stop. He laughed, came at me instead. We fought. If you can call a 16-year-old girl with a knife fighting a grown man drunk on rage and whiskey. He got the knife away from me, but not before I cut him, deep, across his forearm. Enough to make him stop. Good, Vincent said. The same word he'd used before, when I'd told him my father had died. That simple, absolute judgment. I left that night, packed a bag, took the money my mother kept hidden in a coffee can, walked out. The guilt rose up like it always did, familiar and acidic. I told myself I'd come back when it was safe, when he'd calmed down, but I didn't. I got a job waitressing, found a room to rent, built a life that didn't include watching my mother get hurt, and I told myself that was survival, that I'd done what I needed to do. How long before you went back? 2 years. She called me from the hospital. Stage 3 breast cancer, no insurance, no money for treatment. And my father? I laughed, but it came out bitter. My father had overdosed 6 months earlier, heroin laced with fentanyl. She'd been handling it alone, the death, the funeral, the medical bills, everything. And she never called me, never asked for help, because she thought I was better off without her. But you came back. Of course I came back. She was my mother. She'd spent 16 years protecting me, and I'd spent 2 years pretending I didn't owe her the same. I looked at Vincent. That's why the money matters. Why your offer to cover her treatments? It's not just about the bills. It's about me finally being able to give her what she gave me. Safety. Time. A chance to live without pain. He reached out then. Actually reached out and took my hand. His palm was warm, calloused in unexpected places, and the simple human contact of it made something in my chest crack open. You're not weak for leaving, he said, and you're not failing her by accepting help. Survival isn't a solo sport, Elena. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone carry part of the weight. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to accept that needing help didn't mean I was repeating my father's pattern of taking without giving, using people up until they had nothing left. Is that what you're doing? I asked. Letting me carry part of your weight? I'm trying to. He looked down at our joined hands like he was surprised to find them connected. I've spent 15 years being the person everyone depends on, making decisions that affect hundreds of lives, carrying secrets that would destroy people if they came out. And then you showed up with your quiet strength and your refusal to look away from difficult things. And I realized I'd forgotten what it felt like to be seen. Really seen. Not as a role or a function, but as a person. I see you, I said quietly. The man who throws milk cartons in his sleep and pays for strangers, cancer treatments. The man who built an empire on violence but draws lines about who deserves to be hurt. The man who's trying so hard to be better than what he had to become. Is it enough? His voice was rough. Being better than I was? Or does the past cancel out any chance of redemption? I thought about my father. About the good moments mixed with the terrible ones. About how people contain contradictions that never fully resolve. I don't know, I answered honestly. I think redemption isn't a destination. It's just the practice of trying over and over, even when you fail. Even when the past keeps showing up to remind you of everything you can't take back. Vincent lifted my hand, pressed it briefly against his forehead like a blessing or a prayer. Thank you, he whispered. For not running. For staying even when running would be smarter. Maybe I'm not smart. I tried to smile. Maybe I'm just stubborn. Maybe you're both. He released my hand, stood up. We should get ready. Sophia will be here soon, and your mother's expecting you at 2. I nodded, but something else was pressing against my throat. A question I wasn't sure I wanted answered. Vincent? That first morning, when you threw the carton, you said you didn't see me. Didn't know I was there. I didn't. But what if you had? What if you'd been fully conscious and I'd made you angry? Really angry. Not just sleepwalking aggressive. Would you have hurt me then? He looked at me for a long moment, and I saw him wrestling with whether to give me a comforting lie or a complicated truth. I want to say no, he said finally. Want to tell you I'd never hurt you? That you're completely safe with me? That the violence I'm capable of would never touch you? But the truth is, I don't know. I've never had to be angry at someone I care about before. Never had to choose between the person I want to be and the person this life requires. So all I can promise you is that I'm trying. Every day, with every decision, I'm trying to be someone worthy of the trust you're giving me. It wasn't the answer I'd wanted, but it was honest. And honesty, I was learning, was worth more than false comfort. Okay, I said, then keep trying. That's all anyone can do. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression shifted. Something sharp and alert replacing the vulnerability that had been there moments before. What is it? Marcus. They've got your mother secured at the facility, but... He stopped. Read further. There was an incident. Nothing serious, but concerning. My heart stuttered. What kind of incident? Someone tried to deliver flowers to her room. Claimed they were from you. But you didn't send any flowers. The implication hit like ice water. Rinaldi. Probably. Testing our security, seeing if he can get access. Vincent was already moving, grabbing his jacket, checking his gun, which means we need to move her. Somewhere he doesn't know about. Somewhere even I barely know about. Where? He looked at me, and I saw the calculation behind his eyes. My mother's house, he said. Upstate, off the grid. Only 3 people know it exists, and none of them would ever give up that location. Your mother? I'd never heard him mention her before. She's alive, very much so. And she's going to have some pointed questions about why I'm asking her to harbor a woman she's never met. He pulled on his jacket, but she'll do it. Because underneath everything else, she's still my mother. And mothers protect what their children bring home. The phrasing caught me. Bring home. Like I was something he'd chosen, something he was claiming as his own. Get dressed, Vincent said. 5 minutes. We're leaving now. New plan, new route, new timeline. And Elena, yes, whatever happens today, whatever you see or learn about me, remember that I'm trying. That's the only promise I can make that I know I can keep. Then he was gone, stepping into the hallway to make calls, and I was alone with the truth of who Vincent Castellano was. Not a hero or a villain, but something more complicated, more human. A man trying to protect what mattered while carrying the weight of everything he'd had to do to survive, just like me. The drive upstate happened in fragments. Snapshots of scenery I couldn't quite focus on while my mind spun through everything Vincent had told me. Sophia drove with the kind of competence that suggested she'd done extractions before. Her eyes constantly checking mirrors, her posture relaxed but ready. Marcus followed in a second car, maintaining distance but staying close enough to intervene if needed. Vincent sat in the passenger seat, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in rapid Italian that I was starting to recognize as his crisis language, the voice he used when managing threats that required precision and speed. We pulled up to a modest house in the Catskills just after noon. It wasn't what I'd expected. No gates, no security cameras visible from the road, Just a white farmhouse with blue shutters that looked like it had been standing there since before New York was anything but forests and rivers. An older woman stood on the porch, arms crossed, wearing an expression that could have cut glass. Vincent got out first. Mama, Vincenzo. Her voice carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken arguments. You bring trouble to my door after 3 years of silence? I bring someone who needs protection. He gestured for me to get out. This is Elena Torres. She works for me. And Carlo Rinaldi has decided she's a pressure point worth exploiting. His mother's sharp eyes swept over me, cataloging everything. My rumpled clothes, my tired face, the way I stood slightly behind Vincent like maybe he could shield me from her judgment. She works for you, not a question, an accusation wrapped in words. And because of that, men with guns are interested in her welfare? Yes, idiota. She turned on her heel and walked into the house. Bring her inside before the neighbors start gossiping. And you? She pointed at Sophia and Marcus. Check the perimeter. Make sure Carlo's people haven't already found this place. Inside, the house smelled like bread and old wood and something else I couldn't name. History, maybe, or the accumulated weight of family secrets. Photos lined the walls, and I caught glimpses of Vincent at different ages. A boy with gap-toothed smile, a teenager in a suit that didn't quite fit, a young man standing next to an older version of himself who must have been his father. Sit. Vincent's mother gestured to the kitchen table. Both of you. And you will tell me exactly how my son has managed to put an innocent woman in danger because he cannot separate business from sentiment. Vincent pulled out a chair for me, then sat across from his mother. The dynamic between them was fascinating. She commanded the space with effortless authority, and he deferred to it in a way I'd never seen him defer to anyone. Carlo came back to New York 6 months ago. Vincent began building alliances, making noise about taking back territory. I've been monitoring it, containing it. But 3 weeks ago, he identified Elena as someone close to me. Someone he could use. Close to you? His mother's gaze swung back to me. How close? Vincent stopped. She works in my home. She's seen things. She knows things. And I've made decisions that suggest she matters to me. Matters how? The question hung there, sharp and unavoidable. Vincent looked at me like he was asking permission to answer honestly. She matters, he said finally, in ways I didn't plan for and can't fully explain. She came back after I gave her every reason to leave. She stayed when staying was dangerous. And now I'm trying to protect her from consequences I created. His mother was quiet for a long moment, studying us both with the kind of attention that felt like being X-rayed. Your father did this once, she said finally. Brought home a woman who'd gotten tangled in his world. Promised to keep her safe. 3 weeks later, she was dead. Shot by men trying to send him a message about overreach and sentimentality. The words landed like stones in still water. Vincent's face went completely blank. I know the story, Mama. Do you? Do you know that he carried that guilt until the day he died? That he woke up every morning and looked at me like he was checking to make sure I was still breathing, still alive, still not punished for his choices? She leaned forward. This is what men like you do, Vincenzo. You think you can control everything, protect everyone, keep all the pieces moving in safe directions. But violence doesn't follow rules. It spreads like fire, consuming whatever is closest. Which is why she can't stay in New York. Vincent's voice was tight. Why I need your help. She and her mother, they need to disappear for a while. Until I can handle Carlo. Handle. His mother repeated the word like it tasted bitter. You mean kill him? I mean neutralize the threat he represents. Those are the same thing, and we both know it. She stood up, moved to the stove where a pot was simmering. You want me to harbor this woman and her sick mother while you go to war with a man who has nothing left to lose. You want me to watch while you become exactly what you've spent 15 years trying not to be. I don't have a choice. Everyone has choices, Vincenzo. You're just afraid of the ones that require you to be vulnerable instead of violent. The accusation hung between them, and I watched Vincent struggle with it. Watched him realize his mother had just named the exact thing he'd been running from. The idea that protecting me might require something other than the skills he'd honed for survival. Mrs. Castellano, I said quietly. Both of them turned to look at me like they'd forgotten I was there. I understand if you don't want to help. This isn't your fight. and I'm a stranger who your son brought into your life without permission. But my mother, she's innocent in all this. She doesn't know about Vincent's world, doesn't understand why men are suddenly interested in her daughter. If there's any way you could protect her, even if you refuse to help me, I would be grateful." Something shifted in her expression. Not quite softening, but a recognition passing across her face like she'd just seen something she hadn't expected. "What's your mother's name?" "Maria. Maria Torres. She's at a treatment facility in Manhattan right now, recovering from chemotherapy. She has..." My voice cracked. "She has maybe 6 months if the treatment doesn't work. Maybe 2 years if it does. And I just want her to have that time without being afraid." Vincent's mother was quiet for a long moment. Then she moved to the counter, poured 3 cups of coffee from a pot that looked older than me, and set them on the table with the kind of ceremony that suggested this was a ritual of decision-making. "My husband died when Vincenzo was 19, she said, blown up in his own car because men thought killing him would create opportunity. And I watched my son transform from a boy who wanted to study architecture into a man who calculated body counts like profit margins." She looked at Vincent. "I watched him sacrifice every soft part of himself to keep our family safe, to keep me safe. And I have hated and loved him for it in equal measure every day since." "Mama, I'm not finished." She turned to me. "What Vincent doesn't understand, what men like him never understand, is that protection isn't the same as control. That keeping someone safe doesn't mean keeping them isolated from every risk. It means giving them the tools to protect themselves, the knowledge to make informed choices, the respect to be a partner in their own survival." I understood what she was saying. Understood that she was telling me Vincent's pattern. To solve problems by removing variables, to keep people safe by keeping them distant. "So what do you suggest?" Vincent asked. His voice had gone very quiet. "I suggest you stop trying to hide this woman away like she's a treasure someone might steal. I suggest you teach her how to exist in your world instead of trying to keep her outside of it. And I suggest..." She paused. "I suggest you consider that maybe what Carlo wants isn't her. Maybe what he wants is to watch you make exactly the mistakes my husband made. To prove you're just as weak as he thinks you are." The implication settled over the kitchen like morning fog. "You think this is a trap?" Vincent said. "I think Carlo Rinaldi is not stupid enough to start a war over a housekeeper unless the housekeeper is just bait. Unless the real target is watching you expose every vulnerability, every person who matters, every choice that proves you care more about protecting one woman than maintaining power." Vincent's jaw tightened. "Then what do you recommend I do? Leave her unprotected, let Carlo make his move and hope she survives it? I recommend you stop playing his game and start playing your own." His mother looked at me. "Does this woman strike you as helpless? As someone who needs to be locked away for her own good?" "No," Vincent admitted, "but she's not trained for this. Doesn't understand how violent this world can become when..." "I grew up watching my father beat my mother," I interrupted. Both of them looked at me. "I left home at 16 with nothing but a bag of clothes and $50. I've worked 3 jobs while putting myself through community college. I've sat with my mother through 8 rounds of chemotherapy while watching her body try to kill itself. I'm not helpless, Mr. Castellano. I'm just uninformed. There's a difference." Vincent's mother smiled, just slightly, just enough for me to see approval in it. "See," she said to her son, "this is what I mean. Stop treating her like she's made of glass. Start treating her like she's made of whatever women are made of when they survive men like you." A phone buzzed. Sophia's. She stepped into the kitchen, her expression carefully neutral. "We have a problem." Vincent was on his feet instantly. "What kind?" 2 cars just passed the property. Didn't stop, but the second one had a camera mounted on the dash. They're mapping the location. "How long do we have? If they're smart, they'll wait until dark." "Come in quiet, multiple entry points, professional extraction." Sophia looked at me. "If they're aggressive, maybe 2 hours." Vincent's mother stood up calmly, like people discussing home invasions over coffee was just another Thursday in her life. "Vincenzo, there's a rifle in the hall closet. Sophia, check the root cellar, the access point from the old bootlegging days. Marcus, call Tommy Benedetti and tell him we need clean backup within the hour." She looked at me. "And you, Elena Torres, you're going to learn very quickly how to shoot a gun, because in this family we protect ourselves." "Mama, no." "Yes." Her voice cut through his protest like a blade. If men are coming to my home, then everyone under my roof learns to defend it. That includes your housekeeper. The next hour passed in a blur of instructions I barely absorbed. Sophia taught me how to hold a pistol, how to aim for center mass, how to breathe through fear until it became focus. Vincent and Marcus reinforced doors, checked windows, established sight lines and fallback positions. His mother moved through it all with the calm of someone who'd prepared for this scenario 100 times in her head. By the time Tommy Benedetti arrived with 3 other men whose faces suggested they'd seen combat, the house had transformed into something between a fortress and a trap. "They'll come from the north," Tommy said, spreading a map across the kitchen table. "Through the woods, avoiding the road cameras. Probably 6 to 8 men if Carlo's being thorough. Maybe more if he's making a statement. Rules of engagement." Vincent's voice had gone completely flat, the tone I recognized as his combat mode, where emotion got locked away and only strategy remained. "Neutralize the threat, but we want at least one alive for questioning." Tommy looked at me, then back at Vincent. "This is about the girl. This is about Carlo using her to prove a point about my judgment. And is he right? About your judgment?" Vincent didn't answer immediately. Then, "Yes, but that doesn't change what needs to happen." The sun was setting when Sophia's phone buzzed with an alert from the perimeter sensors. She checked it, her expression tightening. Movement. North Woods, just like Tommy predicted. 4 heat signatures so far. "Positions," Vincent ordered. Everyone moved with practiced efficiency. Tommy and his men to windows facing north, Sophia to the rear entrance, Marcus to the second floor. Vincent's mother handed me the pistol Sophia had taught me to use, then picked up the rifle from the hall closet like she'd been born holding it. "Stay with me," she said. "If they breach, we fall back to the root cellar. There's a tunnel that leads to the neighbor's property. From there, we run." What about Vincent? My son knows how to survive, but something in her eyes suggested she wasn't as certain as her words. He's been doing it since he was 19. The waiting was worse than anything I'd imagined. Minutes stretching into hours, every sound amplified, the house settling, wind through trees, my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. I gripped the pistol the way Sophia had taught me, finger alongside the trigger guard. Muzzle pointed at the floor and tried to remember how to breathe. Then, glass breaking. Upstairs, the sharp crack of gunfire, shouting in Italian and English mixed together. Vincent's voice cutting through. Second floor compromised. Falling back, more gunfire. Closer now, the sound of bodies hitting walls, furniture overturning. His mother grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the root cellar access hidden behind the pantry shelves. "Now, we go now. But Vincent will survive or he won't. But you need to live long enough for him to have something to survive for." We were halfway to the cellar when the kitchen door exploded inward. 3 men, armed, moving with military precision. His mother raised the rifle, fired once, the sound deafening in the small space. 1 man went down, the other 2 returned fire. I didn't think, just moved. Raised the pistol like Sophia had taught me and pulled the trigger. Once, twice. The recoil shocked through my arms, and I saw one of the men stumble, clutch his shoulder, fall. The 3rd man turned toward me, and I saw his face clearly. Young, maybe 25, with eyes that suggested he hadn't signed up for a firefight in an old woman's kitchen. He raised his weapon. I raised mine. And in that eternal second before one of us pulled a trigger, Vincent appeared behind him like a shadow made solid. One precise movement. The man dropped, unconscious or dead. I couldn't tell and didn't want to know. Vincent looked at me, his face splattered with blood that probably wasn't his eyes wild and focused at the same time. "Are you hurt?" "No." "Your mother, I'm fine." She was checking the fallen men with clinical efficiency. 1 dead, 2 unconscious. Where are the others? Tommy has 2 pinned in the barn. Sophia took down 1 near the tree line. Vincent moved to me, checked me over with hands that shook slightly despite his controlled expression. "You shot someone." "He was going to shoot your mother, I know." I saw something in his voice, pride and horror mixed together. "Thank you." Sirens in the distance, growing closer. Vincent's expression shifted. "That's not ours. Someone called the police. Probably the neighbors," his mother said. "Gunfire tends to concern people. We need to leave. Now." Before they arrive and start asking questions we can't answer, Vincent looked at Tommy. Clean this up. Make it look like a home invasion. Give the police a story that doesn't connect to me. And the woman, Tommy gestured at me. She comes with me. We have one more move to make before this is over. We were in the car within minutes. Vincent driving, his mother in the passenger seat, me in the back with Sophia and Marcus following behind. The house retreated in the rearview mirror, and I watched it shrink into the twilight and wondered if I'd just crossed some line I could never uncross. Where are we going? I asked. Vincent met my eyes in the mirror. To end this, Carlo wanted to prove I'm vulnerable because of you, so we're going to prove he was right, but not in the way he expected. What does that mean? It means, his mother said quietly, that my son has finally learned the difference between protecting someone and trusting them to stand beside him, even if it terrifies him. Vincent's hands tightened on the wheel. Mama, don't. You brought her into this world, Vincenzo. Now you need to let her choose what role she plays in it, whether she runs or whether she stays, whether she's someone you protect or someone who protects herself. I vote for staying, I said. My voice surprised me, steady despite the adrenaline still flooding my system. Carlo wanted to use me against you, so let's use that. Let's make him think he won. And then we finish this on our terms. Vincent looked at me in the mirror again, and I saw something new in his expression. Not just protection anymore, not just guilt. Trust. Okay, he said. Then here's what we're going to do. Vincent's plan was elegant in its simplicity, which made it terrifying in its implications. We were going to give Carlo Rinaldi exactly what he wanted, me, vulnerable and exposed, bait dangling on a hook he couldn't resist. Except this time, the trap would close on him instead of us. It's too dangerous, Marcus said for the third time as we sat in a safe house in Jersey City, watching the Manhattan skyline glitter across the river like broken promises. She's not trained for this kind of operation. If anything goes wrong, I'll handle it, I interrupted. My voice came out steadier than I felt. This started because Carlo thinks I'm Vincent's weakness. So let's prove he's right, but make him overconfident enough to expose himself. Vincent's mother had returned upstate to deal with the police and the bodies, and the story they'd constructed about a home invasion gone wrong. Before she left, she'd pulled me aside, her hand surprisingly gentle on my shoulders. My son will try to protect you from this, she'd said. We'll give you 100 reasons why you should stay hidden while he handles Carlo. But protection isn't always kindness, Elena. Sometimes it's just another word for control. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is let people choose their own risks. Now, watching Vincent pace the safe house living room, I understood what she'd meant. Every line of his body screamed that he wanted to lock me away somewhere secure while he dismantled Carlo's operation piece by piece. But he was fighting that instinct, forcing himself to treat me like a partner instead of a liability. The club, Sophia said, spreading photos across the table. Carlo's been using it as his base of operations since he came back to New York. Private room on the 3rd floor, always 2 guards at the door, security cameras on every entrance. He'll be expecting trouble, Tommy added. After what happened upstate, he knows we're mobilizing. He'll have doubled his security, vetted everyone who comes through that door. Except me. I looked at the photos, a sleek nightclub in the meatpacking district, the kind of place where models and Wall Street executives paid $300 for bottle service. I'm not on his radar as a threat. I'm just the housekeeper who got caught in the crossfire. Scared, vulnerable, looking for a way out. Vincent stopped pacing. No. Yes. I met his eyes. You said it yourself. Carlo filed that missing persons report to establish a narrative where I'm his victim and you're the villain. So I walk into his club, tell him I escaped from you, that I'm terrified and need his help. He'll take me straight to that private room because he can't resist the opportunity to have leverage over you. And then what? Vincent's voice was tight. You're alone in a room with a man who's killed people for less than what you're proposing. A man who will see through any lie that isn't completely authentic. What happens when he realizes you're playing him? Then you come get me. I kept my voice calm even though my heart was trying to break free of my ribs. You'll be close, right? You and Sophia and Marcus and Tommy, waiting for my signal. Moving the second things go wrong. Things will go wrong, Marcus said flatly. They always do, which is why we have contingencies. Sophia pulled out a small device that looked like a button. This goes in your bra. Press it once for, I'm okay, twice for, need extraction now, 3 times for, abort mission. We'll have audio the entire time, and thermal imaging will show us exactly how many bodies are in that room. I took the device, felt its weight in my palm. Such a small thing to hold my safety. There's another problem, Tommy said. Even if this works, even if Elena gets Carlo to expose himself, gets him on record admitting to the threats, the attacks, everything, what then? We can't exactly take him to the police. The evidence would implicate Vincent just as much as Carlo. We don't need the police, Vincent said quietly. His voice had gone cold, flat, the tone I recognized as his most dangerous. We need Carlo to understand that coming after Elena was a mistake that can't be corrected with apologies or negotiation. We need him to understand there are consequences. You mean you're going to kill him? I said, not a question. A statement that required acknowledgement. Vincent looked at me, and I saw him decide whether to lie for my comfort or trust me with the truth. Yes, he said finally. One way or another, Carlo Rinaldi dies tonight. The only question is whether it happens clean or messy, whether he goes quietly or loudly, whether we can contain the fallout or whether it spreads. The admission settled over the room like smoke. Sophia and Marcus and Tommy exchanged glances that suggested they'd known this was coming, had maybe even been waiting for Vincent to reach this conclusion. You can still walk away, Vincent said to me. I can put you on a plane right now. You and your mother. New identities, new lives, money enough that you'd never have to work again. You'd be safe, free, away from all of this. And you, I asked, what happens to you? I do what I've always done. I handle the threat. I protect what's mine. I survive or I don't, but either way, you're not collateral damage. I thought about his mother's words, about protection versus control, about choosing your own risks instead of having someone choose them for you. I'm not running, I said. Not from this. Not from you. Carlo made me part of this story when he decided I mattered to you. So I'm going to finish it, on my terms, with my choice. Vincent crossed the room in 3 strides, cupped my face in his hands. His palms were rough, his touch gentle, and the contradiction of it made something in my chest crack open. If anything happens to you, he stopped. Started again. Elena, if I let you walk into that club and you don't walk back out, I will never forgive myself. Never. Do you understand that? You're not just some strategy or asset or piece on a board. You're... He stopped again, and I watched him wrestle with whatever he was trying to say. Watched him struggle to name what had grown between us in the space of milk cartons and sleeping pills and confessions over bad coffee. I'm what? I whispered. You're the first person in 15 years who's made me want to be someone other than what this life required. The first person who looked at the worst parts of me and didn't run or judge or try to fix me. You just... He pressed his forehead against mine. You just stayed. And I don't know what that makes us, what label fits what we've become, but I know I can't lose you. I won't survive it intact. Then don't lose me. I put my hands over his, holding them against my face. Trust that I can do this. Trust that I'm strong enough to walk into Carlo's club and smart enough to get back out. Trust me the way I've been trusting you. He pulled back slightly, looked at me with eyes that held too much. Fear and pride, and something deeper that neither of us had words for yet. Okay, he said. Okay. We do this your way, but you follow the plan exactly. No improvisation, no heroics, no trying to prove anything. You get in, you get Carlo talking, you give us the signal, and we extract you. That's it. That's it. I agreed. Sophia handed me a cocktail dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Black silk, designer label, the kind of outfit that would get me past any velvet rope in the city. In the bathroom, I changed while staring at my reflection and wondering who this woman was staring back. This person who'd gone from invisible housekeeper to active participant in what amounted to a mob execution in the span of 8 weeks. My hands were shaking as I zipped the dress. I pressed them flat against the sink, forced myself to breathe through the fear until it became something I could carry instead of something that carried me. When I came out, Vincent's expression did something complicated. Appreciation and terror and possessiveness all fighting for dominance. You look... He stopped himself. You look exactly like someone Carlo would believe needs protection. Perfect. Marcus fitted me with the panic button, showing me 3 times how to activate it through the fabric of the dress. Sophia coached me on the story, escaped from Vincent's safe house, terrified, desperate, willing to testify against him if Carlo could guarantee protection. Tommy went over the layout of the club one more time, marking exits and blind spots and the 17 seconds it would take for them to reach the 3rd floor once I signaled. By the time we loaded into the SUV, my heart was performing acrobatics, but my hands had stopped shaking. Fear and focus, I was learning, could occupy the same space if you let them. The club was exactly what the photos had suggested. Velvet and chrome and music loud enough to make conversation impossible on the main floor. Sophia had called ahead, using one of Carlo's legitimate business managers as an intermediary, saying that a young woman had information about Vincent Castellano and needed to speak with Mr. Rinaldi urgently. The manager met me at the door. A man in his 50s with kind eyes that probably masked the same calculations everyone in this world seemed to make about cost and benefit and acceptable losses. Ms. Torres. He had to lean close to be heard over the music. Mr. Rinaldi is expecting you. Please follow me. We threaded through the crowd, beautiful people dancing and drinking and pretending their lives were exactly as perfect as their Instagram feeds suggested. I felt the panic button against my ribs, felt Vincent's presence somewhere outside the building, felt the weight of what I was about to do settle over me like armor or a noose, maybe both. The 3rd floor was quieter, carpeted hallways, private rooms with closed doors, the kind of space where deals got made and secrets got traded and people occasionally didn't walk back out. 2 guards flanked a door at the end of the hall. They were younger than I expected, muscled in the way that suggested steroids and gym memberships, armed in a way that was obvious enough to intimidate without being so obvious it violated building codes. The manager knocked twice. A voice from inside. Enter. The door opened. Carlo Rinaldi sat behind a desk that looked like it had been imported from a Renaissance palace, drinking scotch from a crystal tumbler, wearing a suit that probably cost more than I'd earned in the past year. He was older than Vincent, maybe early 50s, with silver hair and a face that suggested he'd been handsome once before. Whatever he'd done to survive had carved itself into his features. Ms. Torres. He gestured to a chair across from his desk. Please. Sit. Can I offer you a drink? You look like you've had a difficult few weeks. I sat, keeping my posture small, vulnerable, everything Carlo would expect from a woman who'd allegedly escaped from Vincent Castellano's protection. Water, please, I said. My voice came out shaky, which wasn't entirely performance. I'm sorry. I don't know who else to go to. The police won't help. They say I'm not really in danger. And Vincent, I let my voice break. He won't let me leave. Says it's for my safety, but I feel like a prisoner. Carlo poured water from a decanter, brought it around the desk, handed it to me with a gentleness that felt rehearsed. He was good at this, I realized. Good at playing the role of concerned protector. Probably why he'd lasted as long as he had in a world that rewarded deception. Tell me everything, he said, settling into the chair next to mine instead of behind his desk. A power move disguised as intimacy. Start from the beginning. How did you come to work for Vincent Castellano? So I told him a story. Not the truth, but something close enough to it that the emotions would read as genuine. About needing money for my mother's cancer treatments. About taking a job that paid too well and asked too few questions. About slowly realizing the kind of man Vincent was. The violence, the secrecy, the way blood appeared in his bathroom without explanation. And then he became obsessed with you, Carlo supplied. Not a question. He already knew this part, had probably scripted it in his head when he'd filed that missing persons report. Started treating you differently. Started caring whether you were safe. Yes. I let tears gather in my eyes, not hard, given the genuine terror coursing through me. At first, I thought maybe he was just being kind. But then people started watching my apartment. His driver started following me. And when I tried to quit, I stopped, like the memory was too painful. He said I knew too much. That I couldn't leave until he said I could leave. That it was for my own protection, but it felt like prison. Carlo finished. It felt like prison. The word hung between us, and I saw him watching my reaction, calibrating how much of my story he believed. I need help, I whispered. I need someone who can stand up to him, someone who isn't afraid of what Vincent Castellano might do. And when I asked around, quietly, carefully, your name kept coming up. People said you were the only person in this city who Vincent actually feared. Carlo smiled then. It was the smile of a man who just heard exactly what he wanted to hear. Did they? He leaned back, sipped his scotch. And what else did people say about me? That you used to work together, that there was a falling out, that you came back to New York because you're not afraid of him anymore. All true. He studied me like I was a painting he was considering purchasing. But here's what I need to know. Ms. Torres, are you genuinely afraid of Vincent? Or are you here because he sent you? Because this is exactly the kind of move he'd make. Send a vulnerable woman to appeal to my protective instincts, get me talking, gather evidence for whatever play he's planning. My heart stuttered, but I forced myself to hold his gaze. Call my mother, I said. Right now. She's at Mount Sinai, recovering from treatment. Ask her if she knows where I am. Ask her if Vincent told her I'm safe. She'll tell you she hasn't heard from me in 3 days. She'll tell you she's terrified something happened to her daughter. It was a calculated risk, banking on the fact that Vincent's people had been controlling my mother's phone, that any calls to her would be screened, that Carlo couldn't actually verify my story without tipping his hand. Carlo pulled out his phone, made a call, spoke in Italian to someone I couldn't see, waited. The seconds stretched like hours. I pressed my thumb against the panic button once, I'm okay, and hoped Vincent was receiving the signal. Hoped he understood I was still in control even as my pulse hammered in my throat. Carlo hung up, looked at me with new interest. My associate just tried to call your mother's room. The hospital says she's been moved to a private facility for her own safety. Protective custody, they called it. He smiled again, and this time it didn't reach his eyes. Protective custody ordered by Vincent Castellano, which means he's either protecting her from me or he's holding her hostage to ensure your cooperation. Please, I said, let my voice break completely. Please, I just want my mother safe. I just want to go back to my life. I don't care about Vincent's business or his money or his world. I just want out. And what are you willing to give me? Carlo asked quietly. In exchange for that freedom? This was it. The moment where I'd either get him talking or he'd realize this was a trap. Information, I said, about his routines, his security, the people he trusts, the places he goes when he thinks no one's watching. Everything I've learned in 8 months of cleaning his apartment and cooking his meals and being invisible in his life. And in exchange, you protect my mother. You help me disappear, real disappearance. Not Vincent's version where I'm still under his control. New city. New identity. Enough money that I never have to depend on men like you or him again. Carlo stood up, walked to the window overlooking the club. From 3 floors up, the dancers looked like insects, beautiful and mindless and temporary. Vincent took something from me, he said without turning around. My position, my reputation, my future in this city. He exiled me for being too violent. Can you imagine? As if violence isn't the language this world speaks. As if his hands are any cleaner than mine. They're not, I said. I've seen what he's capable of. The coldness when he gives orders, the way people disappear when they cross him. Then you understand. He turned back to face me. You understand that men like Vincent Castellano operate under the illusion that they're better than the rest of us, that their violence is justified, controlled, necessary, while ours, he laughed, bitter and sharp, while ours is just brutality, just excess, just proof that we don't deserve to lead. So what are you going to do about it? The question hung there, provocative and dangerous. Carlo moved closer, stood over me in a way that suggested he was used to intimidating people with his physical presence. I'm going to take everything from him, he said, starting with you. The woman he's trying to protect, the woman who makes him weak. I'm going to use you to draw him out, to make him so desperate to save you that he exposes every vulnerability, every soft spot, every place where he can be hurt. And then I'm going to destroy him piece by piece while he watches. And me? My voice came out smaller than I intended. What happens to me in this scenario? That depends entirely on whether you're actually useful or just another liability. His hand came down on my shoulder, gripped too tight to be comforting. So let me ask you again, Ms. Torres, are you here because you genuinely want out? Or are you here because Vincent Castellano sent you to gather evidence that he can use to destroy me? I pressed the panic button twice. Need extraction now. I'm here because I'm tired of being a pawn, I said. Tired of men deciding what's best for me without asking. Tired of being protected when what I really need is freedom. So yes, I'll help you hurt Vincent. I'll tell you everything I know. But not because I want him destroyed. Because you want to survive, Carlo finished. Don't worry, I understand survival. It's the only language any of us really speak. He pulled out his phone, typed something. Behind me, I heard the door open, heard footsteps entering the room. Multiple people, from the sound of it. Miss Torres is going to be our guest for a while, Carlo said to whoever had just entered. Make sure she's comfortable. And make sure she understands that comfort can be revoked very quickly if she's not as helpful as she claims to be. Hands grabbed my arms. Not gentle, not rough, just efficient. I was pulled out of the chair, guided toward a door I hadn't noticed before. A door that probably led to some back room where Carlo kept people who needed convincing or silencing or both. Wait, I said. Let panic edge into my voice because now it was genuine. Where are you taking me? You said you'd help. I said I'd protect your mother if you were useful. Carlo's voice followed me as I was dragged through the doorway. First, you prove your usefulness. Then we discuss terms. The door closed. I was in a small room, no windows, one chair, concrete walls that suggested this space had been built specifically for containment. The men holding me pushed me into the chair, and one of them produced zip ties from his pocket. I pressed the panic button 3 times. Abort mission. Don't move, one of the men said. Make this difficult and it gets worse. I'll cooperate, I said. Kept my voice steady even as my heart tried to escape my chest. I'm not going to fight. I just want this to be over. They secured my wrists to the chair arms. Checked that the bonds were tight but not cutting off circulation. Professional. Practiced. These were men who'd done this before. Someone will be back to talk to you, the other one said. Could be an hour, could be 5 minutes. Depends on how quickly you become useful. Then they left. The door closed. A lock engaged, electronic from the sound of it. Not something I could pick even if my hands were free. I sat in the silence, feeling the panic button against my ribs, wondering how long Vincent would wait before he came, wondering if Sophia had the thermal imaging working, if they knew exactly where I was in this building, if the extraction plan would work, or if I'd just made a catastrophic mistake. The minutes stretched. I counted my breaths, tried to slow my heart rate, reminded myself that fear was information, but it didn't have to be decision-making. Then, muffled sounds from beyond the door, shouting, running footsteps, the sharp crack of gunfire that made my whole body flinch even though I'd been expecting it. The door exploded inward, not picked, not unlocked, just destroyed. Wood splintering around the frame, the lock mechanism hanging useless. Vincent stood in the doorway, gun in one hand, bolt cutters in the other, his face completely transformed by something I'd never seen before. Not the controlled violence he showed when making decisions, not the vulnerable honesty he gave me in quiet moments. This was raw fury. This was what happened when someone touched something that belonged to Vincent Castellano without permission. Are you hurt? His voice was barely human. No, just tied up. Vincent. He crossed the room, cut through the zip ties with 2 precise movements, pulled me up and against his chest in one fluid motion. His heart was hammering against mine, his breathing ragged, and I understood that however controlled he looked, he was barely holding himself together. I'm okay, I said into his shoulder. I'm okay. The plan worked. Carlo admitted everything. The threats, the attacks, using me to draw you out. Sophia got it all on audio, right? Yes. His arms tightened around me. But you were supposed to signal before they moved you. Before they put you in a room where we couldn't see you on thermal. Do you have any idea what the last 8 minutes have been like? Knowing you were in this building somewhere, possibly being hurt, and I couldn't... I'm sorry. I pulled back enough to look at his face. But I'm okay. And now we have what we need. Carlo on record admitting he's been targeting me. That's enough for... For what? Carlo's voice came from the doorway. He stood there, flanked by the 2 men who'd tied me up. holding a gun that was pointed directly at Vincent's back. Enough for you to take to the police. We both know you can't do that without implicating yourself. Enough to justify killing me. You could have done that weeks ago without this elaborate theater. Vincent turned slowly, positioning himself between Carlo and me. When he spoke, his voice had gone completely flat. It's enough to prove to everyone watching that you broke the rules, that you went after a civilian, that you used a woman as leverage in a dispute that should have stayed between us. You know what happens to people who break those rules, Carlo. Even you aren't exempt. Rules. Carlo laughed. You talk about rules like they're sacred, like they mean something in a world where the strongest survive and the weak are consumed. I broke your rules because your rules were designed to make you comfortable, to let you pretend you're better than the rest of us, to let you sleep at night without seeing the faces of everyone you've destroyed. At least I can sleep, Vincent said quietly. Can you? Or do you still see that bartender's face? The woman you put in the hospital because she dared to say no? Do you dream about her, Carlo? Do you wake up wondering if maybe, just maybe, I was right to exile you? Something in Carlo's expression cracked. She was nothing. A means to an end. A lesson that needed teaching. She was a person. Vincent's voice carried absolute certainty, and you treated her like an object, just like you're treating Elena right now. Like she's a tool you can use and discard without consequence. That's the difference between us, Carlo. I'm trying to become someone who values people for who they are, not just what they can do for me. You're still treating humans like ammunition, touching speech. Carlo raised his gun slightly, but it doesn't change the outcome. You're in my club, surrounded by my people, holding a woman you claim to care about. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to put down your weapon, you're going to walk out of here, and you're going to leave Elena with me. As insurance, as leverage, as payment for everything you took from me 2 years ago. No. Simple. Absolute. Vincent didn't even consider it. Then she dies. Carlo shifted his aim toward me. Right now. Right here. And you get to watch. Get to know that your protection, your rules, your careful moral boundaries weren't enough to save her. Time did that thing again where it fractured into pieces. I saw Vincent's hand move toward his gun, saw Carlo's finger tighten on the trigger, saw the 2 guards behind Carlo reach for their weapons. And I saw Sophia appear in the doorway behind them, silent as death, with a gun that spoke once, twice, 3 times with the kind of precision that suggested she'd done this before. Carlo's men dropped. Carlo spun, his shot going wild, hitting the ceiling instead of me. Vincent moved, faster than I'd seen him move before, closing the distance, striking Carlo's gun hand with the bolt cutters still in his grip. The weapon clattered to the floor. They faced each other then. 2 men who'd once been allies, who'd once built an empire together, now reduced to this moment where one of them wouldn't walk away. This is how it ends, Carlo said. Blood ran from his hand where the bolt cutters had connected. You kill me in some back room of my own club because I dared to come after someone you care about. No. Vincent's voice was still calm, still controlled. This is how it ends because you broke rules that exist for a reason. Because you hurt innocent people to prove a point about strength. Because you don't understand the difference between power and cruelty. And you do. Carlo laughed, bitter and broken. You think you're redeemed because you fell in love with your housekeeper? You think that erases 15 years of violence? You're still the same person, Vincent. You just found someone who makes you want to pretend otherwise. Maybe. Vincent looked at me briefly, and I saw something complicated in his expression. But pretending is how we change. Acting like we're better until maybe, eventually, we actually are. You never even tried, Carlo. You just embraced what you were and blamed everyone else for judging you for it. Police sirens, close now, getting closer. Sophia appeared at Vincent's shoulder. We need to go. Now. Anonymous tip brought them, probably the neighbors reporting gunfire again. The audio? Vincent asked. Uploaded to 3 different servers. Carlo's confession, the threats, everything. If something happens to any of us, it goes public. He knows that now. Carlo slumped against the wall, holding his injured hand. So that's it. You're just going to leave me here for the police. I'm going to let you make a choice. Vincent pulled me toward the door, but kept his eyes on Carlo. You can stay and explain to the police why there are bodies in your club and a woman who was held against her will. Or you can run, disappear, Leave New York and never come back. Either way, you're finished here. The families know what you did. They've seen the evidence. They've already made their decision about your future, which is that you don't have one. Not in this city, not in this life. Vincent's expression was almost pitiful. I'm sorry, Carlo. I really am. I wanted to believe you could change. But some people, they're so committed to their own destruction that all you can do is step back and let them burn. We left him there, slumped and bleeding and finally broken. Sophia led us through back corridors I hadn't known existed, down service stairs, through a kitchen where staff pretended not to see us. By the time we emerged into an alley 3 blocks from the club, Marcus was waiting with the SUV. We drove in silence through Manhattan, through the Holland Tunnel into Jersey, back to the safe house where this had all started hours and lifetimes ago. I sat in the back seat next to Vincent, our hands linked, neither of us speaking because there were no words yet for what we'd just survived. At the safe house, Sophia disappeared to handle logistics. Marcus went to check the perimeter. Tommy had already gone home, his part in this finished. Vincent and I stood in the living room, still holding hands, still not quite believing we'd made it through intact. You were right, he said finally. You were strong enough, smart enough, brave enough, and I almost didn't let you do it because I was too afraid of what losing you would mean. But you did let me. I squeezed his hand. You trusted me, even though it terrified you. It still terrifies me. He pulled me closer, wrapped his arms around me like he was trying to convince himself I was real. Everything about you terrifies me, Elena. The way you make me want to be better. The way you see the worst parts of me and stay anyway. The way you've become so essential that I can't imagine surviving without you. Then don't. I looked up at him. Don't survive without me. Let's figure this out together. Whatever this is, whatever we're becoming. I don't know how to do that. His confession was raw. I don't know how to be in a relationship that's built on anything other than control or obligation or fear. I don't know how to love someone without trying to protect them from everything, including themselves. Then we'll learn. I touched his face, felt the stubble rough against my palm. We'll make mistakes and fight and hurt each other and figure it out as we go. Because that's what real relationships are, messy and complicated and nothing like the controlled environments you're used to. He kissed me then, finally. After weeks of almost touches and careful distance and boundaries, neither of us had been brave enough to cross. He kissed me like I was air and he'd been drowning, like I was the answer to questions he hadn't known how to ask. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead against mine. I love you, he whispered. I don't know when it happened or how or why, but I love you. And that terrifies me more than anything Carlo could have done. I love you too, I said. And I'm terrified. But I'm staying anyway. That's what love is, right? Choosing each other even when it's scary, even when it doesn't make sense, even when the smart thing would be to run. We stood there in the safe house living room, holding each other while the city buzzed beyond the windows, while Carlo Rinaldi decided whether to run or face consequences, while our future unfolded in directions neither of us could predict. And I realized that this messy, complicated, terrifying love was the first choice I'd made in years that had nothing to do with survival and everything to do with actually living. 6 months later, I woke up to sunlight streaming through windows that belonged to me. Not Vincent's penthouse, not a safe house, not my old cramped apartment in Crown Heights, but a brownstone in Park Slope that we'd bought together. His money, my choice of neighborhood, our compromise on what home could mean. Vincent was already awake, sitting by the window with coffee and a book of poetry I'd never seen him read before. The morning light caught the silver threading through his hair, and I realized he looked younger somehow. Lighter, like he'd set down weight he'd been carrying so long he'd forgotten it was there. Morning? I said. He looked up, smiled. The real smile, not the one he wore for business. Morning. Your mother called. She wants to know if we're still coming for Sunday dinner. My mother, who was in remission now, living in a small apartment near us that Vincent had insisted on buying outright, who'd met Vincent exactly once before deciding he was troubled but good-hearted. The highest praise she'd given any man since my father died. Tell her yes, and that I'm bringing dessert this time, not you. My tiramisu was fine. Your tiramisu was a war crime against Italian cuisine. He laughed, and the sound of it still surprised me. How easily joy came to him now. How the nightmares had faded, not gone, but manageable. How he'd finally learned to sleep without medication, without cameras, without fear. Carlo Rinaldi had disappeared the night of the club, vanished completely. And though rumors circulated about sightings in South America or Eastern Europe, Vincent never confirmed or denied them. Some endings, he'd told me, didn't require witnesses. The families had restructured. Vincent had stepped back from active leadership, transitioning legitimate businesses to legal management while slowly dismantling the infrastructure that had made him who he was. It would take years, maybe decades, but he was trying. Every day, he chose to be someone new. And me? I'd gone back to school. Social work degree, specializing in domestic violence intervention, using everything I'd learned from surviving my father and understanding Vincent to help other women navigate the complicated terrain between danger and safety. I have a session this morning, I said, stretching. New client, woman whose husband works in finance, thinks his money makes him untouchable. Want backup? I want you to trust that I can handle it. I crossed the room, kissed his forehead. But thank you for offering. This was our rhythm now. Him learning to let me be strong. Me learning to accept help when I needed it. Both of us figuring out how to love without control, how to protect without possessing, how to build something that belonged to both of us equally. Outside, the city hummed with its usual chaos. Somewhere, people were making choices that would change their lives forever. Somewhere, violence and tenderness were happening simultaneously. Somewhere, someone was learning that survival and love weren't opposites. They were partners in the complicated dance of being human. Vincent pulled me onto his lap, wrapped his arms around me like he still couldn't quite believe I was real. I love you, he said. Simple words that had taken him months to say easily. I love you too. I leaned into him, felt his heartbeat steady against my back. Even when you make terrible tiramisu. Especially then. We sat there as morning turned the city gold. Two people who'd survived their own darkness and chosen each other anyway. Not because we were perfect or healed or done becoming who we'd be, but because we'd learned that freedom wasn't the absence of fear. It was choosing love despite it, choosing growth, choosing each other every morning, in the light that promised another chance to be better than we were yesterday. That, I'd finally understood, was what it meant to be free. If you made it to the end of this story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from, and click the yellow bell to subscribe to the channel and support us. Keep the adventure going by clicking on the suggested video on your screen.